Hey good looking, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would dupe some vibes for you guys, the new Huda Beauty Brown Obsessions collection, and I chose the palette Toffee Browns. I thought that was the most interesting out of the entire collection, and I thought today I would go ahead, give you guys some swatches of the palette, give you guys a little bit of a swatch party as well, and then kind of give you guys my final thoughts on how I feel about duping the vibes of the Huda Beauty Toffee Brown Obsessions palette. So if you're interested in that type of content and other content around single eyeshadows, makeup brushes that aren't Morphe, or sunscreen, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And let's get started. Okay, today for you guys, I have a palette that I put together on duping the vibes of Huda Beauty's Brown's Obsessions. She has a collection out right now, and there are 3 palettes in that collection. They're all centered around browns, and one is a caramel brown, one is toffee brown, and one is chocolate brown. And I thought that the toffee brown, A, really spoke to me the most, and B, kind of stood out the most in regards to the, eyeshadows and coming out with eyeshadows and things of that nature. So where was I going with that? I don't know. Anyways. So I thought I would put together a palette. This is like my 3rd palette duping the vibes of Huda Beauty. I just want to say that I look up to Huda Beauty so much ever since her video that I watched of her, where she comes out and talks about female hair loss, which is something that I suffer from. Ever since she's done that, I just have grown to have such a deep admiration and appreciation for her as a business owner, and now the creative director of Huda Beauty Cosmetics. I really, my hat's off to her. She's done a great job. So I am so proud of the work that she has done and all of the cosmetics that she's released, and just how well her beauty line really has come to life. So I chose the Toffees palette. I thought it kind of looked the most unique. I looked at a couple different pictures in my swatch party, which we'll get into in just a few minutes, but the 2 pictures that I looked at were the shadow pictures themselves, the crumbled shadow pictures, which show a lot of texture, and they show some like dimensions to the shimmers. So I thought that that would be something that, I might be able to dip into some of my indie brands and kind of find some good, just some textures, some sparkles, some shimmery, shiny, sparkly things. But then when I went and looked at the swatches, I found that the shadows were actually just very, very beautiful, kind of like plainer shimmers is what I would call them. There didn't really have very many, it wasn't standout remarkable shimmers or anything like that, or something that, there's no duochromes, there's no multichromes or anything like that. But I was just a little bit surprised because the picture that I originally saw wasn't really what matched the swatches. But that's okay. Huda's palettes that are 9-pan palettes like this, I think they retail for $27, and when I'm filming this right now, it's a couple days before they'll launch. I think they'll launch on Cult Beauty as well as Huda's website, but you would want to check out her Instagram if you're interested in purchasing it to find out more information, because I don't think they've released much more information other than it is going to be available on Cult Beauty. I know that. It was a really nice palette, and I found it very, very soft and subtle, and every single time I've ever duped the vibes of any of her palettes, I find myself reaching for them constantly. 9 pans are definitely the perfect amount of shadows to give you that, let you have your creativity that you want, but also give you that sense of cohesiveness that really don't overwhelm you either. So I find myself reaching for her palettes whenever I put them together. 2 weeks later, I'll still be using those palettes because they're so easy to use and they're remarkable, and I know I'm going to get a beautiful look every single time I use them. So I really enjoy that. Let's get into the shadows that I used for my dupe collection, and I just want to show you guys how I arrived at it and how extremely remarkable, and this is a little bit embarrassing, but how many shadows I had to choose from to dupe each shadow with. So check it out. So we have 5 mattes, and then it looks like we have 4 shimmers with 2 of them having quite a bit of texture. But here's something that I notice about Huda's palettes. Like this looks way aesthetically pleasing. It looks very something new and trendy. And then when I go over to the swatches, I'm not seeing anything that's like inventive or innovative and new and trending. It just all, the mattes are extremely, extremely flat. So very, very, very one-dimensional. And then you've got those shimmers. But again, I'm not seeing anything that's like speaking to me that stands out. They all look really like just like a shimmer, you know? So I think that I'm going to mostly go off of the swatches. We'll kind of dive back and forth into it, but that's what we'll do. So going back over, I'm going to go shade by shade, and I think for the most part I'm going to use Makeup Geek, Sydney Grace, and I do have a couple of Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows that I want to look at to see, because I think some of those might actually be really good dupes. And then we'll see which ones best fit Duping the Vibe for the Huda Beauty Toffee Brown Obsessions palette. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab out all of these shades right here. And okay, I'm back. I've pulled out all the shades that I feel like dupe this one right here. These do have names on them, and I'm going to find out what they are. Maybe they don't. No, I swore they did. I'm pretty sure they did. And I'm pretty sure I saw the names on the palettes. Maybe they don't. I don't know. First shade right here. So now we're going to look at swatches. And I think, so I pulled out some Sydney Grace shadows. Here's an Anastasia. There's my Makeup Geek. And yeah, that's another Sydney Grace. So here of the Sydney Grace shadows, I have Peanut Butter, and mattes, you know, they kind of have to build. Then I have Caramel. I have Staining from another previous shadow that and then Mom Ride. I think Mom Ride's going to be too brown and too dark, but let's see. Yeah. Okay. Of these three, I definitely think this one's the most intriguing to fit in it, and that's probably what I would choose is Peanut Butter. Let's see here. Let's just look at these. I think these are too mustardy. They might go more towards the center one. So this has had me at yellow. I think it's going to have too much yellow in it. Yeah, that almost would go for that middle shade. But I am seeing this yellow middle shade being like kind of almost the star of the show, if you will. That's too yellow. This is probably going to be too dark. And this is, yeah, that's too like dirty and grungy. That's Tiki Hut. That's pretty. Okay, so we're back for the shades that are on that second swatch here. And I picked up all of these shades. I know I said I wasn't going to do anything other than Makeup Geek and Sydney Grace, but I did grab some Coastal Scents shadows because this swatch right here almost looks identical to how the swatches go for Coastal Scents. They're like almost bridal-esque looking is what I call them, like a little bit more than a satin, just a very, very soft shimmer. And that's really how I feel these are. So let's go ahead and start. I pulled out like every single Makeup Geek shadow. So here's Nostalgic. Let me see. Do I have the, we could see. Okay, so let's do In the Spotlight or Nostalgic. And that one does look like a really, really good option. Here's Starry Eyed by Makeup Geek. Let me see if I got you in the center. Oopsie. There we go. So let's see what that does. Again, still too champagne-y, not really enough peachiness. In the Spotlight. That looks like it has enough peachy sheen to it. Oh, that looks really good, guys. This is Pumpkin Spice Latte by Sydney Grace. Okay, so now that I'm looking ahead, this one up here looks like it's a more subdued peachy champagne. So one of these three might be the option for this shade. And then this one just trend it more like orange. So one of these two. But here is a Coastal Scents shadow. And it's Peach Silver. Oh, actually that one might be might be it. Let me build it up though, because it might be a little bit more brown, but that could be a contender. I still think this one here. Okay, so I grabbed like a various amounts of different saturations and hues because I have found that what shows up on a swatch doesn't look like in the picture. So here's what we have. It's that one right there. And if you look at that one, I would say something like this one right here, Bailey's Bliss by Sydney Grace would be a great option. But here, let me show you what the swatch looks like. That's almost like so white that you can't see. I'm going to get away from there. See, that's just too white. There's no pink whatsoever. So you can see where sometimes like the pictures of the shadows don't really match up with the swatches, and I have to try to go in between the two, like especially because I don't own the actual shadows themselves or the palettes themselves. Okay, so since we've got so many here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them in a pile right there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and go up my arm and swatch. So I've already wiped this one off. Sorry. Pretty much just demonstrating right there that like what is shown in this picture is not always true to what is shown in this picture. And I'm going to link in the eye a video where I duped the Huda Beauty Khaki Haze Obsessions, and I just looked at those pictures right there, and I tried to dupe it based off just that picture, and I completely miserably failed. So you can go check that video out after we're done here. This is Nostalgic, and I feel like that's a pretty icy pink. Let's go ahead and do it right there. I feel like that's probably the one, but you know, let's just keep going just in case. And then the second one is Sydney Grace Turtle Doves. I think that would be an excellent option as well. You guys can see it probably. Yeah, I think in the spotlight, this has just a little bit more of that champagne, less of the pink. This is Starry Eyed by Makeup Geek. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. There's not much pink in it though. Even though it does show. It does show. These are pretty good dupes for one another. Like, I don't think I would notice the difference on my eyes. All right, let me move on to the next one. So we kind of know that these beiges probably aren't going to be it, but we could always try. Here is Dream Maker by Sydney Grace. I just want to show you guys that just as an option. There's one. Actually, that one's pretty close too. It's a little bit more pinky, not as like a peachy pink, not like a pink. Okay. And then here is Immortal. I think this is going to be way too dark though. Way too purple. Yeah, that's way too purple. But there you go. That's pretty. I did bring out Shimma Shimma just because I kind of felt like this is like a really common shade that everybody has, so maybe we can bust out Shimma Shimma and that be it too. There you go. That's a little bit more golden than it is anything else, but there you go. That's that one. Then I think these are all just gonna be way too dark. So this is like In the Spotlight. Whoa. This is Bubbly by Luxie. I just thought I'd get it out just because I thought it would be kind of fun to see. And this is Sydney Grace's Morning Star. Again, this is like too brown almost. But we can just show you guys swatches. Really awful swatches. Actually, that one wasn't too bad either. In the Spotlight. That wasn't too bad, was it? These other two are just way too like brown orange. But those are some options. I mean, they're very beautiful. I don't see any that are dark enough for this shade. So let's go ahead and move on to this yellow shade here. And I'm really going to try hard hard to find almost an exact replicated dupe as close as possible, because I feel like this is the featured shade. Like this is that's the money shot. So I'm going to do my best to try to get that like shade, depth, hue, everything. Everything is going to try to be almost spot on the money. Okay, I'm back. I've grabbed all of the mustard yellow shades I could find in my collection, and I did have one that I kind of trended towards the more macaroni and cheese side by Makeup Geek. I grabbed that one just in case, and that one as well, just in case it looks more yellow in the pan than it actually is on the swatch. I think the swatch is pretty true to the pan color, it looks like. So let's get started on some matte swatches of these grungy yellow. It kind of looks like a mustard yellow. I want to make sure that I capture the theme as well as I possibly can. So, okay, let's take a couple of them that I think we can probably rule out. And that's going to be Cantaloupe Slice by Coastal Scents. Yeah, that one does okay, but I don't know if it's like bomb. Way too yellow. Way too vibrant. And then I think this one here had me at yellow, and I think it's going to be way too subdued. It's almost on that tan side with the yellow in it. But let's go ahead and try it. Yeah, it's just way too... I'm going to have to build some of these up because, again, we're dealing with light yellow shades. Yeah, that's way too tan, but there you go. There's that. All right, now let's move into like an orange shade. This is Squash by Huda Beauty, and oh, wow, that's really soft and buttery. It's too orange. Wouldn't you agree? I think it's too orange. And as well as this one, I think this one's too orange too. This is Makeup Geek's Chickadee. So let's go ahead and get a swatch on that. Well, I can't get it. There we go. Pinkies just don't work as well. Okay, so then I think we've got all those out of the way safely, and we can say they probably aren't going to be good contenders. So these are the shades that I have to work with left over. So let's go ahead and swatch them. This is Buta by Huda Beauty. I think this is going to be just a little bit too pastel. It is pretty chalky. I'm just letting you guys know. Yeah, it doesn't have that like vintage look to it, does it? If you look at that, it doesn't have that, does it? Nope, I think we better try another shade. I think there's some other ones here that might have a bit of like a grungy brown twist. What's in here? All right, this is Gisa Lane by Sydney Grace, and I think this again is going to be kind of like Buta, where it's just a little bit too pastel-y almost. Yeah, it's just a little bit too vibrant orange, or vibrant yellow, wouldn't you say? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I kind of see it. Do you? But that's definitely not how it looks in the pan, but that might be an option, so... Let's go ahead and look at, this is Potential by Makeup Geek, and it's one of their power pigments. So I'm assuming this is supposed to look the most vibrant yellow that you can get. It's just too vibrant yellow. So Gisa Lane is so far kind of what I'm seeing. This last one here is Midas Gold. Oh, please don't be a Coastal Scents shadow that wins it all out. Don't know. Actually, that one... Okay, so... I would say it's between Gisa Lane and that one. Okay, I grabbed some shadows for the next two shimmer shades, so we'll get those two put in here and at the same time, because I feel like those two are very similar and those two are very similar. I could be completely wrong, but I don't really see too much difference. Let's go ahead and back out and just look at the picture difference. So this is looking like a more rose gold bronze. This is looking more like a true gold, I guess you can say. But again, looking at the swatches, I'm not seeing that. I guess, yeah, that's the reddish and that's the more gold colors. So let's go ahead and get a couple of swatches and see if any of them fit. The first one I'm going to look at that I'm hoping doesn't really make it into the palette is a Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it is the shade Wine. It fell apart on me, so I had to repress it, so it's a lot softer. I should probably try and get it thicker. Yeah, it's just way too brown. Here's Legend by Makeup Geek. And again, that's orange, too orange, I feel. Alongside this is Flamethrower by Makeup Geek. And I think that's just going to be too red. Yeah, definitely too red. But, you know, there you go. If you've only got those shadows, you're still duping the vibes, I feel like. So, you know, if you've only got the shadows, then that would be an option. Let's look at some of these coastal scents. So here's Coral Treasure. This is Sunset Gold. That could be an option. The rest of these are Sydney Grace shadows. So I think that for these two shadows particularly, they're going to come from Sydney Grace. And let's take a look at some of those swatches and see what we've got. This is Blushed. I think this might be the one that is going to be that fourth from the end. Yeah, I almost think that's probably going to be the one. Don't you? Maybe just not quite enough brown, though. I don't know. Let's see what else we got. Then we've got Strawberries and Cream. Wonder if this is going to be too much pink, though. No, I think that might be it. So there's the difference in those. I think I would have to go with Strawberries and Cream. I think I'm going to go with Strawberries and Cream. But let's swatch these other shadows to see if we can find a shade that is a good fit for that second to the end. Okay, the next one up is Morning Star. That's too yellow. This is Apricot. That's pretty. That's almost duochromy though. Oh, but I do feel like that could be the one. Here. How do you think I have done? Let's take a look at it side by side. I don't know. I don't think I did too bad. I think I am going to go ahead and turn it back over to the studio, and you guys are going to take a look at some swatches. Okay, you guys have seen that there's a plethora of options that I combed through and nitpicked through to find the most perfect shade that I could get to match the swatches on Huda Beauty's Instagram picture that she has for her swatches. I am very proud to admit I probably could have done all of this with Sydney Grace shadows, but not only did I almost use all Sydney Grace shadows, but I only used 2 Makeup Geek shadows. So all of these are going to be Sydney Grace shadows except for 2 Makeup Geek shadows. And I want to go ahead and get into the swatches now. So for the first shade that I used in my palette, I don't know if Huda actually names any of the Obsessions palette shades. I didn't see any though. So Peanut Butter from Sydney Grace is kind of that warm, peachy goodness that I substituted in for that first shadow. The next shadow is Pumpkin Spice Latte, also from Sydney Grace. And it's just a beautiful apricot shade. It's gorgeous. For the first brown in the palette, I used Sydney Grace's Chocolate Raspberry Fudge. I thought it gave it kind of that warm, orangey brown redness that fit really well with what Huda Beauty's Toffee palette was giving vibes of. Okay, the second row for shadow, I used Makeup Geek's Nostalgic to dupe that kind of shimmery, champagne-y pink vibe. And then Gisa Lang from Sydney Grace's collection is going to dupe the center custard shadow. I was a little bit surprised because I thought that honestly the yellow in the palette was going to look more goldenrod or more orange or even just a little bit more vintage looking, but it actually, Gisa Lang really did a good job of kind of bringing that toffee brown to life. Strawberries and Cream by Sydney Grace is going to dupe that third shimmer, and it is the third shadow in the second row. Okay, so now we have the last row to go into, and the first shade that dupes the Huda Beauty Toffee Brown Obsessions Palette. On the last row is Give Me the Dirt by Makeup Geek. It is one of their rebrands, so they don't have any shadows that are available in their round pans that I felt really gave it the rich, earthy, dark goodness like Give Me the Dirt from Makeup Geek did. Apricot by Sydney Grace. This one I felt duped it really the best, but it does have a duochrome vibe to it. I don't know if I would necessarily come out and say like it's a definite duochrome, but the duochrome is like a peach base with a golden shimmer, so it kind of gives off that duochrome vibe, but you know, it's not as standalone as some of your like red brown duochromes that you might know of. Lastly, Summer Magic by Makeup Geek is the creamy nude that I picked for the palette. Okay guys, so I've showed you guys the swatch party and I showed you guys swatches of the individual shadows that went into kind of duping the vibes for the Huda Beauty Toffee Brown Obsessions. If you're getting value out of this content, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And I just want to make a few remarks towards the end. I have enjoyed duping 9-pan shadows so much because I get so much use out of them. They help me to take my large collection, pull from those collection shadows I never would think to put together. I never would have in a million years thought to take Geese Laying, Strawberries and Cream, and the various other shadows of Sydney Grace that I used in this palette to put in to this Duping the Vibes. So I just have to bring my hats off to the creative directors in all of these palettes and all the brands that I'm just seeking so much inspiration to get the palettes duped from. And I want people to realize like I don't mean anything bad by that. So I do get a lot of people that give me some good constructive feedback saying that, you know, it's just cheaper to buy the palettes than it is to buy the singles. But I buy single eyeshadows. I like to support indie brands. That's who I am as a person. And that is what I have to work with. So that's why I like to take my shadows and put them together into palettes. And I like to use inspiration from palettes that are trending and coming out, or even past palettes. Like I'm considering starting a series on duping past palettes that have been hugely successful in the market. So if you guys find that content valuable, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye.